What's up, guys? Max here with another episode of the ScuttleButt Show. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and thank you for bearing with me yesterday as we had the change in time, the non-traditional time. I was out volunteering with the USO. If you follow me on Instagram, you can go see what I was doing over there in my story. What a crazy day, Inauguration Day. We're going to talk a little bit about the inauguration in a way I don't think you're probably going to expect. Okay, I've got a cool story about that. We have some totally insane stories today, okay? Some totally insane stories culminating in a story about this soldier who's being accused of being a terrorist or conspiring with terrorists. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the plea from other countries to get us back into the war and why I think that's a bad idea. We're going to talk about maybe something going on with somebody who's trying to scam TRICARE. We're going to talk about a tweet that led to a miracle. We're going to talk about the Marine rapper. If you guys don't know who the Marine rapper is, I've done a couple episodes with him. I'm trying to get him back on the show soon. The Marine rapper. We have so much to talk about. We're hardly going to have enough time to get through it all today. Today's going to be a crazy episode. What's up, Blue Line? What's up, Syfy? What's up, Justin? Thanks for joining me in the show today in the chat. I appreciate you guys being here. So look, really quick, I just got to do one thing before we get started with the news, which is about yesterday. So Justin in the chat hit me up and said, "Hey, man, your live streams end. They cut you off before you finish your last sentence." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that was happening. What's happening? I got to figure it out." And I thought about it for a second. I realized pretty quickly exactly what was going on. And I'll give you guys a little heads up here. When I end my stream from my streaming software, there's about a 15-second delay over to YouTube. So if I end YouTube early, I don't get that last 15 seconds is what I think is going on. So today I'm going to try to make sure I don't cut off the very end of the episode and get the sign off for you guys. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the heads up. Hey, if there's something going on with the show, if there's something that doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, you guys let me know what it is so I can improve it for you, okay? And the best way to reach out to me is on social media at The ScuttleButt Show, or you can get me at thescuttlebuttshow@gmail.com. So with that being said, with us covering what happened yesterday really quick, and then we're into the first news story about the inauguration, which is, I'm just going to really quick, just get this out of the way. There's a brand new president as of today, a new president. It's Joe Biden, and I wish him luck. I wish him the best. For years and years and decades, the government always says, we would make more progress, but it's the people standing in our way. It's the obstructionists that prevent us from having any progress. There should be no excuses now. The House, the Senate, the president, all Democratic. If it's going to get better, it's going to get better now. So if they've been telling us how good it's going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing it now. There should be no excuses. There's going to be nobody to blame but Democrats for anything good or bad that's going on. So I am really excited for what's to come. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I'm feeling good. So with that being said, let's get right into the first news story, which is about the inauguration, but maybe not in the way you would expect. Okay, the first news story is, who was the designated survivor for the inauguration? The outgoing administration wouldn't say. This is real? Their designated survivor is a real thing. Maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe I'm dumb. But I did not know that the designated survivor was like a real actual thing. I thought it was based off kind of a loosely based TV show, very, very fictionalized. But this looks to be legit now. So from military.com, the Trump administration has not revealed a designated survivor for Wednesday's inauguration ceremony, and it remains unclear whether the White House even named one. During major events, okay, so here's some information for you guys. During major events such as the State of the Union address or inauguration, the nation's top leaders in the presidential line of succession are gathered in one place, putting them and the nation at risk. One person, usually a cabinet member or senator, is placed in an undisclosed location with one of the country's nuclear footballs, the briefcase carrying the technology to launch the nation's nuclear arsenal. That's according to John Hudak, Deputy Director of the Center for Effective Public Management at the Brookings Institute. In the case of an inauguration, the person is normally designated by the outgoing administration. Given that President Joe Biden, as a former vice president, is familiar with the potential threat that faces the nation's leadership, the U.S. probably doesn't have to worry that there is not one. Not a designated survivor they're referring to. Not announcing the designated survivor well in advance is acceptable behavior to me. Announcing it at the last minute is fine. It doesn't raise any alarms for me because the one thing you don't want to do is have the protocols in place, announce it early, and then have something happen to that person, Hudak said. For Donald Trump's 2017 inauguration, there were two designated survivors. Homeland Security Secretary for those who tune in and watch me read names, Jeh Johnson, President Barack Obama's pick, and Senator Orrin Hatch, a Republican serving as a president pro tem of the Senate who was in line of succession. The spokesman for the Trump administration's National Security Council did not respond to a query regarding the survivor designate Tuesday. According to Hudak, security in D.C. was so high around the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday, the risk of a catastrophe had been narrowed pretty dramatically. But Hudak, who expressed in a column that Vice President Kamala Harris should have been sworn in a separate location from Biden, said the threat of the attack remained viable. And I don't remember at previous inaugurations that I've seen if the vice president was there or not. I feel like they were. Maybe I'm wrong, but when you look at the counterintelligence and other investigations, you're hearing the same things about online chatter. You're hearing about radicalization, extremist ideologies. We were talking about Americans in this sense, the way we said the same things about Al-Qaeda 20 years ago and the same thing about ISIS. So Hudak cautioned against determining who might be the designated survivor from those present and absent at the event, especially in a year where the outgoing president chose not to attend, which is kind of shitty, I think. The challenge is if you get down to the cabinet to see who is or who's not there, like Mike Pompeo's not there, it might just be because he doesn't want to go. So regardless, at noon Wednesday, Biden's codes for the nuclear arsenal were activated, and he gained possession of the briefcase containing the technology to launch the nation's weapons. At the same time, Trump's were deactivated. You know, that's a lot of that stuff I thought was like from the movies. So there was like a show called Designated Survivor, right? I guess it's about like if that happens, if like all these people get killed, who's the designated survivor? And then there's like the nuclear football, the briefcase with the nuclear codes. That's like all real and like common. And I thought that was like, you know, outdated stuff. I can't believe that that's like the actual way that we're still doing it in 2021. But it is kind of interesting. I thought that was like kind of a funny story, and I thought you guys might like to hear it because I read that and I'm like, man, I can't believe I've never really thought about this or seen this or heard this or whatever. Crazy. So just to clear this up, covering that story, there is a briefcase that probably gets opened if the U.S. is going to launch nukes, and the president has that. And then there's always one person at big events who's hiding away in some safe space because if something happens to the rest of the chain of command, that person would become instantly president and assume the roles of the president, and then they would have the nuclear football, the nuclear briefcase. So that is totally, I don't know, fascinating to me. I don't know what the right word is. I was surprised. I'm borderline impressed. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. So that was an interesting story. Now, like I said, we have so many stories to get to today. We're already 10 minutes in. We're gonna have to. There's gonna be a story we drop here for sure. Actually, there already is. I dropped one before we started the show because I actually wanted to get more information on it anyway. I won't tell you guys what it is right now. So, interesting story here. You know, with COVID, with the pandemic, with everything going on, there's been a series of interesting, positive stories that have come out. Hang on, let me catch up on the chat. Larry D says, you have to read Tom Clancy's Debt of Honor. He kind of covers this scenario. Jack Ryan becomes the president when plane crashes into the Capitol building, killing just about everybody in the government. Whoa, okay. I do like the Jack Ryan series. I hope that they make more of those movies. But then again, you know, you read those Tom Clancy books and everything, and you're like, is that real? Like, this is all real? This is like currently true? You know, I'm always surprised by that. So out of COVID, out of the horror of it, you know, there's been some positive stories, and this is not exactly a positive story. It's not exactly a negative story. I don't know what you would call this. It's a bit heartwarming, and it's a, you know, maybe Twitter needs a little bit of love. Maybe Twitter could have a positive story this week come out of it. So let me switch over and get this story going for you guys. So check this out. We did it. Viral tweet helps Air Force veteran reconnect with long-lost South Korean family. This is from Stars and Stripes. So if you look at these two people on your screen, this is a mother-daughter here, pictured in January 2017. Air Force veteran Isabel Hyun Ducharme, like I said, had spent nearly a decade attempting to find her mother's family in South Korea. But it took just 3 days for the internet to find her relatives after her request for help went viral. On Sunday, Isabel of Salt Lake City shared the update in a series of posts to her Twitter account, which included screenshots of video calls with her long-lost relatives. We video chatted and saw our entire family, Ducharme wrote. Ducharme. Man, I'm going to just not say that correctly. I cannot tell you how grateful we are. The reunion is bittersweet, Isabel's mother told Hyun Chu Ducharme is in a medically induced coma after suffering serious injuries during a car accident on Christmas Day. Hyun Chu's condition worsened when she tested positive for COVID-19, the disease caused by coronavirus while in the hospital. Doctors have told Ducharme's family that Hyun Chu may not have much time left, and that's heartbreaking, and that's really sad. That is a total bummer. I'm sorry, my heart goes out to the family. After immigrating to the United States in 1989, Hyun Chu kept regular contact with the sister and two brothers she left behind in South Korea. But in an email last week to Stars and Stripes, Ducharme explained how losing the family home to foreclosure in the early 2010s, like so many other Americans did, led to her mother losing contact with her siblings. We were given short notice to vacate our home and tried to pack in a panic, but ended up leaving most of our possessions behind. Those belongings included a small notebook in which Hyun Chu kept the address and phone numbers of her family in South Korea. Ducharme turned to Twitter. That's sad. That's like a Nicholas Sparks story. Ducharme turned to Twitter with a message on January 14th, and the next day had reaped thousands of responses and more than 51,000 retweets, including by the commander of U.S. Forces Korea. Korean-speaking fans of the K-pop group BTS, who I love, I love BTS. Translated Ducharme's tweet into Korean. Others reposted the message on social networks popular throughout Asia. Isabel's plea spawned on its own hashtag, Help for Hyun. Hashtag Help for Hyun. This is cool. In a matter of days, we somehow helped reunite this family together when they needed it most, filmmaker Aaron Stewart-On, who assisted Isabel in the search on Twitter, said. One of the Ducharme's cousins had also spent several years searching for her American family. So they were looking for each other. Aww. My family has been so overcome with gratitude for every last person who has shared our story, commented on our posts, reached out, or even prayed for us. Ducharme wrote in an email to Stars and Stripes, if my mother could see the community that is gathered around her, she would be in awe of what is happening. That's cool. That's really cool. I am happy that I get to report that story. It's cool. It's, that's the kind of stuff that I imagine Twitter was made with in mind of like connecting people around the world. Obviously, they've been in hot water. They're under attack from all sides. In the government and kind of in the sphere of the public eye, but social media has reconnected countless people. We covered that one story a few weeks ago about the soldier who stalked his old Thai girlfriend and then left his wife to run away with her in Florida, which was not as heartwarming. But I do got to say before I end this story, I do got to say to Hyun Shu and her family, I hope it doesn't say here what happened to her. It sounded really like not good. Her prognosis was not good. So I hope the family's doing well in the new year and dealing with this problem with as much strength and courage as I'm sure they have brought to their entire lives. It sounds like, from immigrating to the U.S. to joining the military to reconnecting with family to dealing with the foreclosure and then dealing with end-of-life care. So shout out to that family and good for them. Okay, so in the chat, Scotty, what's up? How's it going? I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. It is nice to have you. There is oh my God, I'm just looking at how many articles I have to cover, and I'm looking at what time it is. So there is, as always, any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat, email me. You guys know the deal. Share this video, invite people to the chat. That's the best way to support the channel right now. Link in the description for the GoFundMe from yesterday as well, if anybody's curious about that. So, when you're in the military, maybe you've seen this. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be real with each other for just a second here. When those combat camera come out, when those MCs come out on the flight deck, and you find out you might get in the Navy Times, you might find out you get in the plan of the week. When that ship newsletter goes out, you might have your picture in it. You find out that you're on the cover of Stars and Stripes or something like that. You're like, yes, I got my clean green shirt on. I'm about to go handle business on the flight deck. I've got my kit on. I've got a clean uniform. I'm about to go handle business. I'm about to go run through to the mortar pit and get a nice photo taken. I'm about to be on the news. My family's going to love that. I'm going to get my name. I'm going to turn this wrench so professionally. No one's ever turned a wrench so professionally ever. I'm checking the torque on this thing. I'm doing the pre-op on this thing. I'm doing some 3M on the ship. We're going to make sure that valve is closed, You're ready for that photo opportunity. But those photos now are property of the military. Those photos instantly become property of the military. You don't own the rights to those photos. You sign that away on your enlistment, right? So now, interestingly, and sometimes I'm going to be honest. I Google image things for the thumbnails of these videos all the time, and then I put them in the thumbnails right off Google. And sometimes you get those high resolution photos. Oh, when you're doing a Google image search and that 5100 by 4800 resolution pops up, and you're like, yes, this is going to be a crisp, good photo. We're going to about to make the most fire thumbnail. Like I could print this. I could print this out. That's good. You like that? That's a good feeling. That's good. So it could backfire. Like those images go out on the internet, this could backfire on you. So it happened to this veteran who is currently suing after finding out that retailers have been selling his image from Afghanistan on posters. Check this out. Army veteran Nicholas Giovanelli, sounds like an ice cream flavor, is suing to stop several companies from exploiting his image for profit after he found them selling posters featuring photos of him taken in Afghanistan many years ago. Giovanelli deployed twice and was medically discharged 5 years ago after suffering a traumatic brain injury and other wounds, his lawyer said. That was during a press conference to the Chicago District Court. Nick was very proud and is still very proud of his military service, Tobin said. He has no problem with the fact that the United States military took photographs of him while he was on combat tours. But Giovanelli never consented to letting companies use those images for their own benefit, Tobin said. He was shocked to learn of the poster a few months ago after someone he had served with brought it to his attention. It doesn't take a great amount of imagination to understand that someone who has sustained pretty substantial injuries on behalf of his country can be seriously harmed both actually and mentally by having to see images he never consented to be sold publicly online. The list of defendants includes Walmart and Amazon. Get ready for that settlement, bro. Get ready for that settlement. Let me get a piece of the settlement. I'm covering the story on the ScuttleButt Show. How many people are talking about this? Let me get a little settlement out of this. So Walmart and Amazon, along with several websites that sell stock photographs or other art prints. Amazon declined to comment, obviously, because they're, that wouldn't be smart if you're getting ready to go to court. And several of the other sites did not immediately respond to inquiries. We take this seriously, and once we are served with the complaint, we will respond as appropriate with the court, said Randy Hargrove, a Walmart spokesman said. Now, look, here's the deal. As a content creator, as a YouTuber, as a filmmaker, as a photographer, there are major concerns out there when you're out doing your job, when you're out doing your photography, when you're out doing your videos, that you retain the rights to your photos. A photo sold a couple years ago for over $1 million, most expensive photo ever sold. There are stock photography websites like Shutterstock, for example, where people they take one photo of a guy who's like looking at a blank chart and he's like, this is some interesting chart right here. And they sell that photo 100 times for $5, and they make $500 off that photograph. It's a career. It's a job. It's like when you pirate a movie off of I don't do this, so I don't even know what an example is. It's like when you used to go on was it Kazoo? What was the old thing we used to, LimeWire, for example, when we used to download illegal music and risk it all to get the new Trapped song? So that is the same when you take somebody's photo. Like, I'm one to talk. I make these thumbnails, but I don't profit off of that at all. Zero anything off of that. So I go on Google Images, which are an open source information, and I put those photos into my thumbnails. But if I was to take that photo and then start selling it as if it's my own property, that's pirating. That's piracy. You cannot do that. It's illegal, okay? So I am excited for this gentleman. I am excited. He's about to get that fire settlement. Like, that's incredible. Good for him. I'm confident he'll probably get a nice settlement. Like, why would they want to go through a whole bunch of litigation when it's obviously him and they've been selling it on their website? So good for him. Good for that story. If you've ever had a photo of you in Navy Time, Stars and Stripes, whatever it is, the ship's newsletter, deployment, whatever it is, I'd love to see it. If you can send it to me at the ScuttleButtShow@gmail.com or on Instagram, I would love to see that photo of you that the military took that one time that you made it big, that your family got to see you on TV or in the news or whatever. I'd love to see it. Send it my way. All right, let me catch up in the chat here really quick. So Rachel, hello, welcome. I'm glad to have you in the chat, Rachel. It's a pleasure as always. Earl, welcome. Thank you for being here today. I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. We have a couple stories to get through. We're going to be watching a video in a little bit. We're going to be watching a video together, rocking out, jamming out. I'm going to tell you guys a very, very interesting story about that. We've got, Justin said LimeWire or Napster. And what was the, Scotty sent it to me. I would love to see it. And there was one, Kazoo. There was another one. Started with a K. I used to use it all the time. I'm going to go home and download music on Kazoo or something like that. Anyway, it was really not a good idea. And that was, and then we know Metallica had destroyed their reputation by being the people who took down Napster and all this stuff. Hey, I get it. I was in a rock band. I never got any of my royalties for our music that we sold online. It's a huge bummer. So not that it would have been more than 3 cents, but hey, I would have happily taken that check and framed it up on the wall. So we've got to keep moving. I'm getting distracted. I am not good at staying on track here. I'm going to really quickly cover this next story because we've got a bunch that we still have to get to, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one. But look, TRICARE fraud mastermind sentenced to 18 years in prison. 18 years in prison for trying to defraud TRICARE. TRICARE, of course, if you don't know, being the military healthcare system. You can be TRICARE Select, TRICARE Prime, TRICARE Asia, TRICARE Europe. You can be TRICARE whatever. If you're in the military or you're a dependent or you're retired, you get that TRICARE. That's that good. That's that good. That's that healthcare. That's that everything covered, okay? That's good healthcare. A Mississippi man described as the mastermind of the largest healthcare fraud scheme in that state's history has been sentenced to 18 years in prison and ordered to pay nearly $350 million in connection. What? Imagine if somebody walked up to you and be like, yo, you owe the government $350 million. I got a bill the other day from San Diego Gas and Electric for $19, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. $350 million in connection to his role in a scheme to defraud TRICARE. Bring it on for him. Wade Ashley Walters, 54, of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, who earlier pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering, was sentenced to January 15th in federal court in Mississippi, according to an announcement from the Justice Department. He's the co-owner of numerous pharmaceutical distributors. The reason I did want to bring this article up is because it talks about the overprescription of medications, including opioids, especially to veterans, which is a huge problem. You know, I was just having this conversation with somebody last night, a physician, about how pain management has really turned into just pill farms. Pain management has turned into pill farms. And it's partially, you know, our fault as consumers, right? It's like if people say, hey, you got to go to physical therapy, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to just deal with the pain. And then people go, no, just give me the pills, give me the pills. You know, and then you get addicted. You get on the pills after a surgery. You get addicted. There's no good program to get you off. You can't get off of the pills. You become addicted. There's a lot of blame to go around. I don't 100% always blame it on the pharmaceutical industry. I don't 100% always blame it on the doctors. But here's a good example of how doctors are using and abusing the system to the, you know, and putting patients in peril. So he is a co-owner of numerous pharmaceutical distributors and compounding pharmacies, companies that make individualized medications for people. So he was ordered to pay nearly $288 million in restitution and to pay an additional $57 million to forfeit his personal profit from the scheme. Officials stated the sentencing is another mile marker on a long road to justice for victims, veterans, military, and all American taxpayers, as the mastermind of the largest healthcare fraud scheme in Mississippi history has been held to answer for his crimes. Since 2007, federal officials have been engaged in a coordinated large-scale investigation of healthcare fraud. Some involve schemes to submit claims to Medicare, Medicaid, and TRICARE for treatments that weren't medically necessary, and sometimes never provided. Some schemes resulted in convincing TRICARE beneficiaries to fill prescriptions for pain creams, ointments, and other topical medicines they didn't necessarily need, resulting from illegal kickback schemes. Between 2012 and 2016, Walters ran a scheme to defraud TRICARE and other healthcare benefit programs by distributing compounded medications that weren't medically necessary. According to justice officials, Walters and his co-conspirators adjusted prescription formulas to ensure the highest reimbursement without regard to effectiveness and solicited recruiters to get prescriptions for high-margin compounded medications. Paid those recruiters commissions based on the percentage of reimbursements paid, including claims reimbursed by TRICARE, and set up a system to make it appear that the pharmacies were collecting co-payments while waiving or reducing co-payments paid by the beneficiaries. Solicited medical practitioners to authorize prescriptions for high-profit compounded medications and sometimes paid kickback to those practitioners. How gross. What a gross thing to do. Like, this guy deserves everything he got. Who knows what the long-term effect of prescribing unnecessary medications, over-prescribing medications, getting patients addicted to pain treatment plans that they didn't even need. This is just the worst. This is so disgusting to me. Additionally, the pharmaceutical industry and medical company representatives, who often, let's say you're a salesperson for a particular surgical equipment, they go into the OR with the doctors, they help them implant things, to do procedures with this proprietary equipment, and there are federal laws in place to prevent them from incentivizing the medical providers to use their equipment over maybe a more effective piece of equipment. Like, you can't give them bribes, you can't give them kickbacks. There's something called the Sunshine Act. So if you guys ever want to look that up, it's called the Sunshine Act. It's a federal law that prohibits all this kind of stuff. So the Justice Department's Criminal Division Fraud Section leads the healthcare fraud strike force formed in 2007 that has resulted in charging more than 4,200 defendants who have collectively billed Medicare for about $19 billion. In May 2015, a TRICARE policy change required screening of all ingredients in the compounded prescriptions and rejecting any that contained non-FDA approved ingredients. These prescriptions were increasingly costly to the Defense Health Agency, the DHA, which spent nearly $1 billion on compounded prescriptions in the first 4 months of 2015 alone. So there's obviously a major problem in healthcare. We all know this to be true, but it is. I will say it is doctors are in a difficult position. Doctors can be put in a difficult position when patients keep going in there and they keep saying, "I'm in pain, doc. I need something. I'm in horrible pain." Doctors have to, eventually treat the patient for something, and giving them pain medication if they want it is not necessarily unethical. Like, these people might be in pain, and pain is subjective. Pain is is rated by the person experiencing it, right? You can't assess how much pain somebody is in. So if somebody comes in and they want medicine, then you give them medicine. But they're putting stuff in place like national registries. So if somebody's getting 60 Oxycontins at one location, they can't go the next day and get 60 more somewhere else. It'll be flagged like you're abusing your medication. So stuff like that is coming online or is already online in many places. So I hope we are seeing what is the decline of the opioid epidemic and people overprescribing medication and pill farms and all this other stuff that, there's a great documentary on Netflix on, I don't remember what it's called right now. The Pharmacist, I think. If you get a chance to go watch The Pharmacist on Netflix, it's awesome. Absolutely epic story and storytelling. But anyway, this guy tried to defraud TRICARE to try to take advantage of veterans' access to really great health care by giving them too much medication they don't need, and making up medications just for profit. And that's garbage, and I'm glad to see that he's getting a book thrown at him. So that's the end of that story. Let me catch up on the chat. Justin said, bro, I was on this long-term opiate contract while I was active. That shit's nasty. Yeah. So I'm lucky. The times that I've been on pain meds after like surgeries or something like that, I've always been able to just stop taking them. I've actually never even finished the prescriptions I've gotten because I knew ahead of time. And I said, you know what, if this takes down like the strongest people are out there getting addicted to this stuff and I'm not the strongest person, I better get off this stuff as quickly as possible before I end up addicted to Vicodin, Percocet, OxyContin, something like that. Earl says a lot of those pills people are taking can actually make things worse in the long run. So, we know about some side effects, right? Like if you take pain medication too long, you need more of it, right? Your body develops that tolerance. You don't get the same effect. Your brain doesn't have the same chemical response to them that they did when you first started taking them. They can be bad for your kidneys, bad for your liver, as if, us as sailors don't want to talk about stuff being bad for our livers as we, drink like fish. But it's definitely a problem when you're abusing medication. Like even something as simple as not taking your medication with food can cause organ failure, right? Depending on what these medications are. Even over-the-counter stuff. Like if you take, ibuprofen or Tylenol or something like that, and you don't eat something, you could send your kidneys into overdrive and just start shutting them down. It's very possible. Scotty says, I was on a great pain management program with no narcotics. Then I moved to Florida and they put me on narcotics and it was miserable. Yeah, sorry to hear that, bro. Obviously, you and I are like best friends, so or we are best friends, so I know, some of the stuff that you've been through. And pain management is really tough. Pain management's really tough. I see it from a lot of different sides now. I'm married to a physician, so I hear about like what doctors have to go through for pain management. But just last night, talking to somebody about, going into pain management as a specialty and becoming like just a pill pusher. It's what patients want. Patients want the easy button. Not saying anybody in the audience, but we all know there's people out there standing in long lines, dishing out fake prescriptions and stuff, trying to get more pain pills. That's a real thing. So we got to do something, especially in the veteran community. So that's what this obviously whole thing is based around. In the veteran community, of getting veterans to not jump right on pain pills, maybe not crushing 800 milligram Motrins every time you have like an ouchie and taking like 4 of them in the morning would be a good start. Okay. So maybe we can do our part. Now, listen, we've got 2 stories to end this thing off with. One is pretty cool, and we're going to listen to some music. And then 2 is crazy, totally crazy. But before we get to those 2 final stories, I got one today, came across my desk that scared the shit out of me. I read this, and I was scared reading this, okay? Where to begin with this? Where to begin? So, the headline, Macron calls on Biden for greater U.S. military involvement. So, out of France. French President Emmanuel Macron hoped on Tuesday that the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden will show a greater military commitment to fight against Islamic extremists in several theaters of conflict, especially in the Middle East. Macron, who made his New Year's speech to the French military in Brest in western France, said, I am certain that in the coming weeks, the new administration will need to make key decisions that will mark a greater commitment and awareness in the fight against terrorism in Syria and Iraq. Macron stressed that France has maintained its efforts to fight against the Islamic State group in the region. About 900 French troops are currently taking part in the U.S.-led international coalition. The Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier will rejoin the operation in the coming months. He also called for the United States to get more involved in multilateral defense cooperation. Biden, whose inauguration is scheduled for when now he has been inaugurated, under the Trump administration, the number of U.S. troops in Afghanistan has been reduced to about 2,500, and American forces in Iraq have been cut in recent months to reach about the same level. In his speech, Macron also suggested that he is considering a partial troop pullout of Africa's Sahel region, an adjustment he presented as a consequence of successes achieved by French forces last year and an unexpected greater involvement of other European countries. Macron said he will make announcements at a summit next month in Chad's capital, N'Djamena. The deployment of about 5,100 troops in 5 West African countries represents France's largest military operation abroad. So, I see this article, and where do I begin? What am I going to say about it? It's like the idea of us going backwards 2 years, right, to Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. That's what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about going backwards 2 years. It would be not fruitful, I'll say. It would be not productive to go back to the same stuff we were doing. Okay? Limping along, providing support, FID-type operations to foreign forces, sending them out on unilateral ops to go take care of their own problems while we support and provide equipment. There's no end in sight there. There's no outcome. It's not outcome-based thinking, okay? It's just us showing support, being there. And it's war for the troops on the ground, but it's not war from the standpoint of our country, okay? Our government is not over there waging war with an end in mind. And I talk about this on the show. You guys have heard me say it. I have zero interest in the United States going back to Syria, back to Iraq, back to Afghanistan, increasing numbers, resupplying, restanding up bases and airfields just to limp along for 20 more years. If we're going to go back and get more involved in Syria, can anybody even tell me what's going on in Syria, right? Does anybody out there even know what's going on in Syria or what was going on there a couple of years ago and why what we were doing there was important? And what about in 2012, 2013, 2011, right? What was going on in Syria then? It's frightening to think that we're going to go back to, on the request of foreign governments, go back to doing the same thing we were doing before. If we're going to go back and do something different, if they're going to go back and change it up and try something new and try to actually, pursue a path that ends in a withdrawal of foreign troops and a stabilization of that country, okay, that's one thing. But if they're just going to go back to, inserting some Green Berets, some SOF, and then following the same protocols that we did before, the same kind of support, and then just rotating people out every 6 months for a real life training scenario, and nothing ever happens, nothing ever changes. I don't know. I can't really get on board with that. So I'm interested to hear what's going to happen. I'm sure that we'll hear announcements about that in the coming weeks. I'm sure we're going to hear announcements about it in the coming days. Things have already started to totally get shaken up. There's a new VA secretary. We're going to talk about that on a future episode. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I just wanted to say I don't want to go back to business as usual. I've said on the show many times, I don't want to see us going back to business as usual. I've seen how it ends firsthand, okay? I've been in Afghanistan where I've seen bases shut down and we leave, and every inch of ground gained while we were there gets lost because we were limping along, because we were just doing enough to be there. We were just present. And while it was life and death and we cared about the people on the ground and we were trying to stabilize the region and train police and train military and build outposts and all this stuff, it didn't last. And as soon as we left, all that fell. And so what are we doing to solidify the ground gained that doesn't involve Americans being there for the rest of time? There's bigger threats. There's bigger fish to fry, so to speak. Okay, we can't just, be in the Middle East with a minimum number of troops doing the minimum mission required for the longest time that we possibly can. Okay, anyway, I've been babbling on enough about that. You guys have been popping off about Florida over there. Rachel says, unfortunately, docs in Florida make good money prescribing pills. They tried doing that to my brother, but he refused. Good, Rachel. I'm glad that your brother was able to kind of self-manage or get some other kind of physical therapy or whatever it was, whatever his issue was. If your doctor is a good doctor, shouldn't be pushing you to get on pills, right? A good doctor, because what do doctors do, right? Do no harm is what doctors say. Do no harm. So everything that they're doing should be with the idea of do no harm in mind. So by just getting people on pain meds, on opiates, that does harm. That's known. It's not a secret. That does harm. So I hope that, good luck to your brother. I'm happy to hear that he didn't get on pain pills and he went another route, maybe tried another doctor, whatever he did, let me know. And I think that we all probably need to be weary of getting on pain meds for pain management, chronic pain management, whatever it is. So, okay, but I'm not a doctor. Soon, there will be doctors on the show. We have some special episodes coming up with some doctors. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be really fun. Okay, so if you guys have been listening to the show, oh man, we're running out of time. So if you guys have been listening to the show for a long time, you will remember the episodes and stuff I've done with the Marine rapper, TMR, a Marine combat cameraman who deployed to Iraq, who deployed to Afghanistan. He was with Marine grunts outside the wire running missions, combat veteran, and rapper. And he went viral back in the day for asking Betty White to go to the Marine Corps ball with him. He has some hit songs. Go out there and check him out. We're going to listen to one of his songs here in a minute. We've listened to his songs on the show before. I did a dance video when his new label, Ninja or Space Force Music, came out. Go check that out. That video is on my YouTube channel. Just look up the Marine rapper, and you should find it. And you'll get to see me dance for 10 minutes, which is probably worth your time. And then he has been all over the place. Maybe you've seen him. Maybe you've seen him in the news lately because he has been, it's been crazy. Okay, the last few weeks, he and another guy named Topher released a song called The Patriot. The Patriot reached #1 on the iTunes charts. It also was in the top 10 on the hip-hop charts. I think for a while it was in the top spot. And then on January 6th in D.C., the Marine rapper and Topher performed this song prior to the riot starting in the Capitol. They're veterans. They're patriots. They're Americans. Topher is known as a conservative thinker, not like an extremist. Just nothing like what I'm saying. He's just conservative. And he has this song called The Patriot, and they played it, and then a riot happened, and the song got pulled off of streaming. It got pulled off Spotify. It got pulled off everything, off of iTunes. And, I'm not about censorship. I'm not about it. I don't like it. I don't like the takedown of Parler. We can get it all into that. I think it's kind of hypocritical. But anyway, doesn't mean that I like what they're doing. It just means that I think it's hypocritical to take it down. Now, this song, it's pretty good. I mean, it's a good song. And it was trending, and it was up on the charts and everything. And then it gets taken down. And I've got a lot of love and respect for the Marine rapper. He's taking good care of me. We became friends. I worked with him at Veterans in Residence, presented by Bunker Labs. You can go find older videos on the channel about that. And, I'm going to play the song for you. I'm going to cover this story, and we're going to rock out to it a little bit. I'm going to let you guys know some of my thoughts. But first, let's talk about kind of what this song is. So Topher, this is from Headline Planet. Topher and the Marine rappers, The Patriot, re-enters top 10 on overall U.S. iTunes sales chart, reclaims #1 on hip-hop rap chart, and is rising on the U.S. iTunes store. In the days following its December release, Topher's The Patriot, featuring the Marine rapper, made a splash on the U.S. iTunes store. On Christmas Eve, the song scored a top 10 position on the store's all-genre song sales chart, while reaching #1 on the hip-hop rap chart. The Patriot has held up well since reaching those peaks, remaining comfortably in the top 100 on all-genre listening and at or near the top of the hip-hop chart. So good for them. Good for them. I want to see success here. Over the past few days, the song has actually been making some noteworthy gains. As of press time, 9:30 a.m. Friday, The Patriot is up to #9 on the overall chart. It is meanwhile back in the #1 position on the hip-hop rap listing. The artists were present in Washington, D.C. for President Trump's January 6th rally. They also delivered a performance in D.C. that day. Topher has since been tweeting his perspective on the actions at the Capitol building. In a Wednesday night tweet, Topher also mentioned that The Patriot has been removed from Spotify. his quote here, Spotify just pulled my song, The Patriot, from my profile. WTF. WTF. Stream it on YouTube and everywhere else. Right now, we won't be silenced. And guess what we're about to do, guys? We are about to stream that song. So we are about to stream together and listen to The Patriot by Topher and the Marine Rapper. And you guys tell me what you think. Should this song have been pulled from the charts, from the radio, from iTunes, from Spotify, or is it good to go? I'm going to play it. Let's listen to it. You know, if you're in the car, if you're at home right now, just, you know, turn the bass up. Let's rock out. This is a great song. I like this song. I've been rocking it. You know what I mean? It sounds good. It's professionally produced. The Marine Rapper's a professional musician, music producer, veteran, advocate for veterans suicide, for veterans, you know, crisis awareness, all this stuff. He's a great guy. A great guy. And I 100% support what he's doing. You got to go check him out. You got to go get to know the Marine Rapper, and I'm hoping to get to know Topher better soon. So here, without any further ado, I'll shut up, is The Patriot by Topher featuring the Marine Rapper.
I'm on a toll beat. Someday I would buy bodies with good origin, sails to distant shores. Stand up high in the proud, noble bark I stand. Steady course for the heathens. Many foemen, many foemen, many foemen.
Tens of thousands on my right, thousands by my side. War between good and evil, watching our fists collide. Battle for our freedom now, to the streets we ride. Flags waving all around, pages full of pride. This is where we make a stand, no more give or take. March around the Capitol, storm the city gates. Putting pressure on their necks until the truth breaks. All walls of corruption, take out all the snakes. Star Spangled Banner, got it playing loud and proud. People from all walks of life filling up the crowd. Defend the Constitution, many warriors have vowed. Casting down any among us who have bucked and cowed. Enough with tyranny, we come to take our country back. For all citizens, white, red, brown, or black. Return her to a form of glory, fix their bloody crack on the crown. Fetch it down, it's going down.
Someday I would buy bodies with good origin, sails to distant shores. Stand up high in the proud, noble bark I stand. Steady course for the heathens, many foemen.
Timber. My mama told me, yeah, she warned me that this day would come. I'm like my father, go to combat with the blazing guns. I survived that, then I came back to the place I'm from to face off all these haters and the battle in the place I love. You can't break me down, I'm indivisible. You still see my raps if I was invisible. But I'm standing tall, and I spit the truth. So you all appalled, cause you know it's true. They call it freedom cause the fallen troops pay for this. I love this country, doesn't matter how much hate I get. I take my colors in the battle, ain't no wavering. Cause this is for my warriors who marching to the cadences. This is for the sisters working hard on the ship. This is for the brothers getting y'all doctorate. Father, yeah, taking y'all on the ship. Baby, tell me why it's hard for the Patriot.
My mother told me someday I would buy bodies with good origin, sails to distant shores. Stand up high in the proud, noble bark I stand. Steady course for the heathens, many foemen, many foemen, many foemen.
All right. So sorry about that. I got to get my my buttons correct. So look, I'm not dumb. I realize when you listen to that song with the lyrics on the screen and then you compare it to what happened on January 6th at the Capitol, you could pull some borderline creepy language that goes right along with what happened out there. But what I'll say is, and I know this is cliche. You guys can tell me how cliche this is. If I can listen to a song that says "Scream out 187 on a mother effing cop," and that's not, you know, inciting violence or anything like that, then I don't see why this should be in that category too. I know that was low hanging fruit. That's a common argument. That's probably what you would hear a pundit say. I'm just saying, I don't believe in censoring songs like that because it's an expression. It's in that regard, I see that song as an expression of what they're feeling, of what they're thinking. If the fact that song was played on, okay. And then to counter myself, which I always love to do, right? I always love to prove myself wrong. If I'm in the gym and that right song comes on and I get pumped up, it's time to hit that personal best, right? You need that song that puts you in that state of mind. You're ready to go. You're ready to attack, right? We would listen to music before we would go on ops. We would have it playing, loud outside, trucks, get ready to go on doing exercise. You're listening to some jams. You know how that goes. Can music add to an event like what happened at the Capitol? Yeah, of course. I'm not dumb. Of course it can. But when you consider that song came out in the beginning of December, I don't know if that's in response to what's going on in some chat rooms or something like that. Sure, maybe. But here are veterans expressing their voices in song, and it gets taken down, it gets censored. Now it's back and it's trendy and it's number 1, number 5, wherever it is on the charts. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the Marine rapper. I support him completely. His music is great. If you take up some kind of issue with that song, reserve your judgment until after you've gone back and listened to more songs by the Marine rapper. Okay? Do that for me. Go look up the Marine rapper. Go stream the rest of his music, and you tell me where you think he stands. Topher, I don't know him as well. I'm not speaking on his behalf, but if TMR, the Marine rapper, tells me this is a good guy, he's a good guy until I'm proven otherwise, as far as I'm concerned. Okay? So that's an awesome song. That's an awesome track. I'm happy for those guys. I want to see them do well, and I'll continue to share it. I'm trying to get TMR and maybe Topher on the show soon, maybe next week, maybe this week, who knows, but stay tuned for that. So Dave says, great song. They pulled it because they were in D.C. That's BS. I feel you. Rachel says, there's a reason that foreign governments asked for help now with Democrats as the majority party. I'm apolitical and view parties for their policies. I agree with that. We should, I think that in some regards, there's policies I like on both sides. I call myself apolitical also, although I feel like, that can be a cop-out sometimes, but I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm extremely liberal on my viewpoints, and there's only a few things that I'm really on the conservative side on. Rachel says, great and powerful song indeed. Censorship sucks. I agree. Larry D, censor that, but let any song with N-bombs, hoes, guns, drugs, and WAP, and it's all empowering. Yeah, you can make those arguments. That's what I was saying earlier. It's a very cliche. It's a very low-hanging fruit argument. It's one of those things where the truth is we have to do better. You have to do better than that if you want to change people's minds. It's just a fact of the matter. And I'd like to be able to do better than that too. I'd like to be able to say, here's why this song is good to go, and it's not whataboutism. I don't want to be a whatabout person, we got to do better than whataboutism. So, I'd like to get them on the show and hear their side. I'd like to hear their side of it. I'd like to hear how about this? Let's hear from the artist before we go and pass judgment on any other song either, right? I'd like to hear from the artist and say, hey, what were you thinking when you wrote this? What's the inspiration? Where's this coming from? What's your true thoughts on this? Talk to me now. Let's have a deeper conversation about it. Let's get to the bottom of it, Maybe if we had more of that, we would have less censorship, less hate out there, less whataboutism, all that. But that's what I'm trying to do on the ScuttleButt Show. So if you like that, share the video, invite people to the chat. Check out the website, ScuttleButtShow.com. Check out our Patreon, linked in the description down below. You guys know the deal. Invite people to the videos. Jojo, hey, what's up? Welcome to the chat. We're about to get to the craziest story I've ever heard. No, not the craziest story I've ever heard. But frankly, add this to the list. It's number 2 on the list. So if you guys remember a few months ago, we had a video come out on the ScuttleButt Show. It was called, I don't know what it's called, but it was Ethan Melzer. Ethan Melzer. This guy was selling out to ISIS. Cadet says, I missed the part about designated survivor. Hey, check out the replay on the podcast or replay in the video as soon as the stream's done, Cadet. It's the first story. So, I've got 2 articles here. I've got one from the Department of Justice and I've got one from Stars and Stripes. And so, let's go over to Stars and Stripes. Let's start there. I'll start you guys off with a picture. I know how we like to, I got to keep you guys' attention. So, soldier arrested in suspected plots to attack. Soldier arrested in suspected plots to attack service members, blow up New York City 9/11 memorial. Look at this guy. Just take a look at this guy real quick. Remember this face. Cole James Bridges. Cole James Bridges, a U.S. Army soldier, was arrested Tuesday in Georgia on terrorism charges after he spoke online about plots to blow up New York City's 9/11 memorial and other landmarks and attack U.S. soldiers in the Middle East, authorities said. Cole James Bridges of Stowe, Ohio, was in custody on charges of attempted material support to a terrorist organizations, the Islamic State group specifically, and attempted murder of a military member, said Nicholas Bias, a spokesperson for Manhattan federal prosecutors. The 20-year-old soldier, also known as Cole Gonzalez, was the 3rd Infantry Division out of Fort Stewart, Georgia, when he thought he was communicating with the Islamic State online about terrorism plots. Online's a scary place. Unbeknownst to Bridges, an FBI employee was in on the chat as Bridges provided detailed instructions on tactics and manuals and advice about attacking the memorial and other targets in New York City. As we allege today, Bridges, a private in the U.S. Army, betrayed our country and his unit when he plotted with someone he believed was an ISIS sympathizer to help ISIS attack and kill U.S. soldiers in the Middle East, said William F. Sweeney, Jr., head of New York City's FBI office. Fortunately, the person with whom he communicated was an FBI employee, and we were able to prevent his evil desires from coming to fruition, Sweeney said. Our troops risked their lives for our country, but they should never face such peril at the hands of one of their own. I agree, said U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss. Look at this picture of this guy. It's, yeah, you know, I don't have a lot of cemented positions on things. You guys probably realize this if you watch the show. I'm pretty flexible and thoughtful, and I like to see both sides of the story, and I like to argue with myself and see if I can prove myself wrong. I want to get to the truth. One position I have that's not really flexible is fuck ISIS, okay? Fuck ISIS. That is, I could even go back and forth about the Taliban, okay? But fuck ISIS and anyone who is affiliated with them, period. That's it. That's a simple position that I have. You don't have to look any further or complicate any more than that to know what I think about ISIS, okay? Bridges was scheduled to make an initial appearance in federal court in Augusta, Georgia on Thursday. It was not immediately clear who would represent him. According to a criminal complaint in Manhattan federal court, Bridges joined the U.S. Army in September 2019 and was assigned as a Cav Scout in Fort Stewart. At some point, he began researching and consuming online propaganda promoting jihadists and their violent ideologies. Authorities said he expressed his support for the Islamic State group and jihad on social media before he began communicating in October with an FBI employee who posed as an Islamic State group supporter in contact with the group's fighters in the Middle East. Shout out to intelligence officials, officers who go onto these chat rooms, not just terror-related, but child abuse, human trafficking, and they endure horrible shit to be able to track down and identify these threats before they come to fruition. And that's not easy, okay? That's got to be a really, really hard job. And you hear about it, too. You hear about the PTSD of people who spend all day watching decapitations or child porno on the internet because they're trying to find where this stuff comes from. They're heroes, too, okay? Jets flying. Those jets flying over my head right now are giving a shout-out to the intelligence officers who are out there doing this very difficult job that I certainly don't want. According to court papers, he expressed his frustration with the U.S. military and his desire to aid the Islamic State group. The criminal complaint then said he provided training and guidance to purported Islamic State fighters who were planning attacks, including advice about potential targets in New York City, including the 9/11 memorial. What an asshole. It said he also provided portions of U.S. Army training manual and guidance about military combat tactics. By the way, you can Google those. So you can pretty much Google any Army field manual. They're open source and get those. So I don't know why they have to be provided to anybody. Bridges also diagrammed specific military maneuvers to help the terrorist group's fighters kill U.S. troops. So those are called TTPs, and those are classified. To help the terrorist fighters groups kill U.S. troops, including the best way to fortify an encampment to repel an attack by U.S. Special Forces and how to wire certain buildings with explosives to kill the U.S. troops. Although I do wonder if this dude knew anything about what he was talking about. I'd like to see what I'm glad they don't put it online, but I'm curious to see what Private Gonzalez or James, whatever his name is, Bridges decided that he was a tactics expert at and decided to provide the ISIS with. So this month, according to the complaint, Bridges sent a video of himself in body armor standing before an Islamic State flag. That makes me freaking nauseous. Gesturing support. A week later, Bridges sent a second video in which he used a voice manipulator and narrated a propaganda speech in support of the Islamic State group's anticipated ambush of U.S. troops. In a statement Tuesday, a spokesperson for the Fort Stewart-based 3rd Infantry Division, Lieutenant Colonel Lindsay Elder, confirmed that PFC Cole James Bridges is assigned to the division. She said division commanders are cooperating fully with the FBI. Elder referred further inquiries to the Pentagon. So really quick, and I got this Department of Justice article up here, and we're going to be wrapping up the show, is, I don't know how this guy got radicalized. I don't know what was going on in his life at the time that led to this, but individual radicalization of troops is probably one of the biggest threats to our government. Same goes to our government, right? Government officials. Individual radicalization of government officials is the biggest threat. The insider threat is the biggest threat. See something, say something, right? I encourage you guys, veterans, military, if somebody on Facebook, one of your friends on Facebook starts to get weird, it doesn't hurt to just say something, okay? Because who knows? If they had missed this guy, who knows what the results could have been. I'm sure disasters. I'm sure they stop plots like this all the time. And I'm sure that they miss a lot too, right? So these homegrown insider threats are the biggest threat that we have to us, to our government. And it only takes one insider to bring down so many people, to bring down a whole organization. It's really dangerous. I mean, that's the danger that we face most of all. And it's why it's important to, do background checks and do security clearance checks on people before they join the military or join the government. So this guy goes out there, he somehow gets radicalized via the internet, and he gets caught by some intelligence officers who are online posing to be ISIS. So good for them. They're, heroes. Who knows how many lives they saved? Countless. And this guy's just a total POS. You know what I mean? Just total POS. So Larry D says, what do they say about chat rooms? If you think it's a girl, it's really a guy. If you think it's an underage kid, it's really a cop. If you think it's ISIS, it's the FBI. There you go. I mean, let's not spread the word too much on that, though, because we want people not knowing that, right? We want people to, I would think you would want people to feel safe in these chat rooms so that they get caught, right? You want to know where to find the bad guys. You don't want to drive the bad guys further underground. That's why you don't go after that's why you go after the source, right? So you chop the head off the snake. You gotta get the root of the problem. Cadet says, Discord is really toxic. There are so many videos of suicide and stuff. A lot of people make it look like a meme. Then you click and it's some guy with a shotgun. Wow, really? Not on my Discord. Not on the ScuttleButt Show Discord, I'll tell you that. Which we do have linked in the description down below. Wow. That's, you hear about that. Dave says, very true. Portland is a cesspool of insider threats now. We make fun of our online training that we do. We make fun of it all the time. Like, hey, it's GMT time. Like, damn, I don't want to do my GMTs. I don't need to know about the Purple Dragon and the OPSEC threat and Uncle Sam's Who Wants to Be a OPSEC Millionaire. But it's certainly it always proves itself to be necessary. I don't know if it's effective, but it's necessary. Maybe there's a better way to do it. But this kind of stuff scares me big time. And then if you guys want, there's from justice.gov, the Department of Justice website, they issued a statement kind of further detailing what happened there. I guess I won't go into it because it's already noon. But if you guys want to find out more information about this, just look up this guy's name. Look up on Stars and Stripes or, Military Times. There's information about it. You can Google his name and the United States Department of Justice website, and you'll find it no problem. So, okay, it's noon. Wow, that flew by. I had to cut out stories. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about tomorrow. I'm telling you guys, we have stuff tomorrow that's also going to be awesome. Some stuff about the VA. The VA is changing already. The government, the Secretary of Defense is changing already. Things are happening. The ball is rolling. I mean, there's going to be a lot of military news to talk about in the coming weeks and months. Cadet says, most servers are good, and I like Discord, but some servers are really bad. Hey, avoid the bad ones. Try not, I feel bad. You hear about kids out there clicking on a link, and they end up watching a horrible, really scary video like that, and it can be really traumatic for them. So, okay, guys. As always, links in the description down below for how you can support the channel. The two best ways to support the channel are through Patreon, linked in the description down below, and just sharing these videos and inviting people to come watch the show. I appreciate you guys being here. It means a lot to me. Today, I'm going to try not to cut you off on the stream, thanks to Justin. So let me know. Give me some feedback if this stream ends with me saying the thing I always